99% of clients come to me saying they have full coverage, but they actually don't. Let me explain. I had a potential client call and tell me that he was in a really bad hit and run accident. His car was totaled, he was in the hospital, and he said he was fully covered. But in reality, when he came in and I looked at his auto policy declaration page, he wasn't fully covered, and unfortunately there was nothing we could do to help him. In this video, I'm going to talk to you about what full coverage actually means and how you can protect yourself so you're not stuck in a situation like this. There's 4 main types of coverage. The first is liability coverage, and that's simply coverage that you have in order to protect yourself if, unfortunately, you're at fault for the accident. So that's going to help cover you if someone makes a claim against your insurance company for property damage or injuries. In Nevada, by law, you're required to carry liability insurance coverage of at least $25,000 per person and $50,000 per accident, and have property damage liability coverage of at least $20,000. And while that is the state minimum, you can always have more coverage than that. That's basically the minimum that is required for you to be legally driving on the road. But our recommendation is obviously to carry as much liability insurance coverage as you can. That way you're protected and don't have to worry if unfortunately you are ever at fault for an accident. The second coverage to consider is collision coverage, and that's the coverage that's going to protect your vehicle damage. So whether that's total loss of your vehicle or vehicle repairs, even rental coverage while you're waiting on your vehicle to be repaired. Collision coverage is important to have even if you're not at fault for an accident. So I have clients that come to me and say, I don't need collision coverage because the at-fault party's insurance will handle taking care of my vehicle repairs. But that doesn't always happen right away. It doesn't always happen in a timely manner. So if you want to make sure that no matter what happens during this process or what happens during your case, whether we can settle it or have to go to litigation, that your vehicle is going to be repaired or you get paid on your total loss and that you're in a rental car, then you need to have your own collision coverage. The third coverage to consider, which is really important, is what's called underinsured, uninsured coverage. This coverage typically will match whatever liability coverage you have, but you can get any amount of underinsured, uninsured coverage that you deem necessary. And so this is something that I tell all of my clients is probably one of the most important coverages to have. And so let me go into both coverages for you because there's an uninsured part and an underinsured part. So let's start with uninsured motorists first. Uninsured motorist protects you and the passengers in your vehicle from a situation where the at-fault party either has no insurance or flees the scene of an accident. And this happens all the time, unfortunately, in Nevada. There are a lot of drivers here that are driving around with no insurance or that flee the scene of an accident. If you have uninsured coverage, you're able to still get your medical bills paid and still get compensated for pain and suffering for your injuries, even though the third party did not have any insurance. Underinsured coverage kicks in when your medical bills and your pain and suffering are going to exceed whatever the at-fault party's coverage limits are. So for example, if your damages are over $30,000, but the at-fault party has a policy of only $25,000, the only way you're going to be able to recoup more is if you also have that underinsured coverage. So again, we are able to do the same process that we do with a third-party carrier where we're sending a demand with your medical bills and asking for additional compensation for you for pain and suffering. We do that same process with your own insurance. So typically I tell people the best way to protect yourself when you're involved in an accident is to have the best coverage possible on your own policy. Get the underinsured, uninsured coverage. You will not be sorry. You would be absolutely surprised at how many people here don't have enough insurance coverage or don't have coverage at all. The fourth coverage to consider is what's called medical payments coverage. And medical payments coverage is great because it's coverage for your medical bills regardless of whether or not you're at fault for the accident. It also protects the passengers in your vehicle, just like underinsured, uninsured motorist coverage. And so your medical payments coverage, you can have anywhere from $1,000 and beyond. And this is important because you know for sure that at least whatever amount of coverage you have for medical payments, those medical bills will be paid up to that amount. we're still able to send all of your medical bills to the at-fault party's insurance for payment, but it's an added certainty that your medical bills are going to get paid. So I have a lot of clients that ask me, why do I need medical payments coverage if I also have health insurance? And that's a great question. And you can use your health insurance after an auto accident, but that process can be complicated, and I'll explain that more in another video. So I hope now you understand a little bit more about what full coverage means, because these coverages typically aren't necessarily explained in detail to you when you're trying to decide on what policy is best for you. But now you know what coverages to have in order to protect yourself. If you have any other questions about your coverages or about your auto policy and what coverages to have, please give us a call at 702-381-8888.